A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. It's now time for us to focus our lenses on the Accra-Tema Motorway. The highway has many life-threatening potholes and the street lights there are non-functioning and it makes driving very unsafe. Watch this piece by Michael Ashale, and after that we'll speak to persons who have concerns as well and who can speak to the issues at hand.
The Accra-Tema stretch of the N1 highway, also known as the Accra-Tema Motorway, is a crucial link for Ghana and the West African sub-region. The road connects Ghana to other countries such as Nigeria, Benin, Burkina Faso and the Ivory Coast, and is a major route for Ghana's exports to the sub-region. However, this stretch of the N1 highway is becoming increasingly dangerous due to poor road maintenance.
More than this.
Death trap. It's too much. They have to really come and construct the road. It's a death trap.
Right.
Because look at it. You can't call this. You can't call these potholes. So you can't call these potholes. And we pay a tax, so they have to come and resolve it for us.
The motorway is notoriously known for some of the heart-wrenching accidents in the country, and the road is getting more dangerous by the day.
My name is Noah Tekpe. The road is very, very bad. We are suffering in this road because they are not doing the maintenance. I'm passing here every day. The potholes and the things is very bad. So we are begging the president so that they fix the road for we. We are suffering in this motorway.
The speed limit on the motorway is 100 kilometers per hour. With the potholes, drivers are forced to slow down to avoid destroying their vehicles. In the process, they create congestion on the road.
Charlie, the traffic is too much on the motorway. Right, yeah. No, there's a lot of potholes on the way, so we have to do something about it.
These potholes are not only an inconvenience for drivers, but for passengers as well.
Sabi, I can't wait so I pay for fast so I are for fast so ministers in MPs in fast so.
Nearly everyone uses the road, including those going to health facilities, pregnant women and workers.
So, now we should send a motor from here to Accra. So bad. Waste problem.
The road is terrible. I sometimes have waist pains. It's either I'm in a long traffic or jumping into potholes, and no one seems to care. It should be fixed.
But at the end of the day, you won't benefit here also.
At night, the motorway is plunged into total darkness. On our drive up and down the entire stretch of the motorway, we observe that but for a few areas, the entire motorway is without light, even though there are street lights along the stretch. More than half of all the street lights are not functional. Some are without their cables, whereas others are without bulbs. Drivers will not see the danger lurking in the corner until it's too late. Since 2009, there have been more than 10 promises to rehabilitate or expand the motorway. From Amidu Amin Sulemana,
we have to do an engineering studies on the road and see possibly what it will cost. And the public-private partnership, there are a lot of things studies that you must do.
To former roads minister Joe Gidisu, and even former President John Dramani Mahama.
If we achieve a huge expansion of Tema Port and we have a constraint of the roads leading to the port, then we would virtually have done nothing. And so the combination of the road to the expansion of the port is something that I appreciate very much.
The MPP government promised to expand the road to 10 lanes.
Mr. Speaker, under the Ministry of Roads and Highways Public-Private Partnership Program for Road Infrastructure, the design, build, finance, operate and maintain Accra-Tema Motorway and Extension PPP project 27.7 kilometers is at the procurement stage. Site work is expected to commence in September 2022.
Kwesi Amoako-Attah, under the Akufo-Addo-led government, said the reconstruction was going to start in November 2021.
Any moment from now, because we are at the concluding ends of it, and we are going to turn the motorway into 6 lanes. We are going to have almost 4 interchanges on it, and if you add other service lanes and slip roads, some areas will go, up to 10 lanes.
It didn't. He promised the reconstruction will commence August 2022.
Those who do not know what is happening here should keep quiet. Those who do not know what is happening here should keep quiet, okay? And we are starting, this year.
Again, they missed that. Now, it is uncertain when the reconstruction will start. There have been attempts in the past to fix portions of the express highway. Although the motorway was made with concrete slabs, bitumen was used to patch some of the potholes.
And the fixing should be permanent fixing, not something temporary. Okay, it's fixed today, the next time it develops another potholes again.
Sadly, these temporary fixes have only worsened the problem. The bitumen patches are now looking like corrugated sheets because of pressure from the vehicles and the heat from the blazing sun. And vehicles can't help but wiggle. The lack of proper maintenance on the Accra-Tema Motorway is a major concern for both commercial and personal vehicle users. The once pride and joy of the country has now become a road of shame. For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
Well, to help us delve deeper into the issue, Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, road and building consultant, joins us. And just before I bring him in, you may recall that the Minister of Roads and Highways appeared before the Public Accounts Committee. And there again, he did mention that there were plans to begin the construction or reconstruction of the Tema Motorway. And in December 2021, government signed a $570 million contract with South African firm Motor Angel for the design and construction of the Accra-Tema Motorway extension project. According to the minister, though work is yet to start, the challenges that delayed the commencement, according to him, will be dealt with soon. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, great to have you here this morning. Is reconstruction the way to go with the problems on the Accra-Tema Motorway?
Well, good morning. I think this is about the 100th time that we've spoken about the Accra-Tema Motorway. It's long overdue. All the experts in the road construction have stated categorically, backed by records, available records, that the road motorway has already expired. Let me use the words bluntly. And that the mitigating measures that are being carried out just for some few duration, i.e. maybe some 2, 3, 4 months, and then we'll come back again and continue with the mitigating measures so that at least we can make the road a bit usable. But from 1965, the road is gone. I mean, it was commissioned in 1965, so from 1999, 2000, 2010, thereabout, the road was supposed to have been reconstructed. And so the approach is not the best way to go. We've had several presidents, ministers assuring us almost on a yearly basis about the plans, MOUs being signed by Japanese entities, South African entities, the European entities here and there, but still at the same stance. the motorway had to be constructed completely. Last year, we were told that we're going to have multiple lanes, where we'll have some express lanes, and then we'll have service lanes, and they'll be towed separately. Maybe the express lane will be towed, and then the service lane may not be towed. We are still where we are, sadly.
Well, Engineer Mohammed, the other concern is how over time the area around the motorway has changed so much. I'm talking about settlement of communities on both sides of the stretch, now allowing for commercial vehicles to make stops. Initially, or what we know with highways like the Tema Motorway is that such things are not allowed. People, you know, finding their way into the roads, using unapproved routes and all that. I don't know if you've seen this design. We are told that this South African company was supposed to design this new 6-lane motorway. But what should we be looking out for, considering the way the area has changed? What kind of road or highway should we be looking at constructing?
Revisions being done. What I think is, over time, some years back, we had issues with the development authorities, i.e. the Tema District Council, the Tema Municipal Assembly, who continuously issue for warehouses, factories, and other facilities to be very close to the motorway. I have set time with that number on a lot of programs we've had across the media houses, that the people who are making the cost of road projects in Ghana very expensive are about three. The Assembly is a major contributor to the deviation of project cost. ECG is another contributor to the variations that we see on road projects. And last one is the Ghana Water Company Limited. But on this motorway, let's deal with the Tema Municipal Assembly. It's like 10 years now that we've been hammering on the fact that the motorway will be expanded. Luckily, from Tetekwashi roundabout or the interchange moving towards the Tema enclave, about a 2-kilometer stretch, I've seen few approaches. The other side, getting towards the Ashama area to the motorway roundabout, we are so okay with the road reservation. So there will not be much compensation. But the developments along the project corridor, very close to the project corridor, had brought about some of the discomforts, even with floods, where we started experiencing floods within the Tema Motorway, sectional and localized floods. It's as well as the fact that all the tunnels that have been created on the motorway that were constructed were not for vehicular passage. They were for cattle rearing and other things. Like some of them were just the rivers which were going across the motorway. And the cattle at the abattoir were supposed to go underneath so that they don't come into conflict with the motorists who are applying the route. So we need to, moving forward, the motorway is just one example of about 18-kilometer stretch. Government has to find money as soon as possible to get the motorway to be constructed. The design that I've come across is very good. But last year or last 2 years, we started hearing the $570 million. I'm sure this year it has to go higher because the cost of all the various components, the chippings, the cement, the iron rods, and then the bituminous substances, that's the coal tar, had escalated in terms of prices. So I'm not too certain that the $570 million that had been paid for the past 2 years would be adequate for the type of design that we are being made to believe that is going to be the one to use for the construction.
Right. It's interesting you bring the perspective of cost, because I was going to get to that, considering where we find ourselves now with regards to our economy and how much it may cost us to put up this or construct this stretch of road. So moving on, you know, there are different types of materials that are used for different purposes. And there were concerns at the time the potholes were being filled about a year or two ago about what type of material was being used. Should we still stick to what the motorway, the material that was used for the motorway, or we should begin to look at more modern ways of building roads?
Well, the modern ways of building road is still the concrete and then the asphalt. The asphalt have just been improved. They have come in different classes. We have the AC10, the AC20, and the other new ones that are still being used for experimentation, actualization, and then execution of the works. So we cannot go away from the asphalt. We cannot go away from the motorway, the concrete. Where you have a very heavy machinery, trucks actually dominating the traffic count and then the traffic impact assessment. All these things come into play when the material engineers are designing the type of pavement that can carry the loads within that area. And so even at the time that we didn't have so much vehicles on our roads, in fact, those heavy-duty trucks were not actually in existence, few were in existence. Because of the industrial hub nature of the Tema enclave at the time, because the ports were very close, the first president of the land thought wise, with the advice of engineers at the time, to do the motorway, which has stayed over 60 years. So we will still be within the asphalt, we'll be within the concrete, and sometimes we'll do the pavement blocks. The pavement blocks and then the concrete come in one bracket. They are called the rigid pavement, whereas the asphalt is the flexible pavement. I feel like anytime the institutions are going to do any road construction in the country, after doing their designs, they should be open to the Ghana Institute of Engineers to critique the design that are going to be used for that particular construction. Because see, I am still amazed myself that the Ebri road that we did from Pedua Salon through Ebri town to Manfi. In fact, that was my first work after school in 2004 to 2007. That road is as new as it was done, that's like yesterday. And that is not an asphalt. So I am still not happy when I hear asphalt overlays being executed across the country on some areas where we don't need them and they are too expensive. At the end of the day, if you come to Achimota towards Hacho, Westland area, and you see asphalt overlays being done to the doorstep of people, individual homes, the cost of that asphalt could have done 4 times, say, the length of a good surface dress road, properly engineered, supervised because of the data available. So this is where some of us think that there was a small diversion as to how we keep on deciding on the type of roads to do within our local areas, as against trying to connect to regions or bigger districts that are bringing direct benefit to the citizenry.
So it's like we've misplaced our priorities, huh?
In a way, we have. But I made a statement. I'm just trying to come up with an article on it. What I see is that when we don't get these 3 ministerial areas, that is the roads, Ghana Roads, the Roads and Highways Ministry, the Western Housing. I'm sure Western Housing has water company underneath them, or sanitation, whatever is there. And then the third one is Ministry of Energy or Power. If we don't start to work together as a team, I can give you a typical example. I won't mention the project name, but there's a project which is going to cost about $120 million. Now, the cost of relocating pipes and then the high tension cables or electric cables is about 25% or so of the project cost. And some of these relocations were done about 10 years ago. It means that the government, the Ministry of Roads and Highways is the mother unit. So they have the land or they have the right of way. Any other person who is trying to do any construction along the corridors of the road ought to find out from the Ghana Highway Authority the adequate information that are available either for the maintenance of the same route of the road or expansion of the road in about 5 or 10 years, so that you don't go and bury your utility cables underneath the road, so that in the event of the construction, the project has to bear the cost of a newly laid pipes or ECG lines or telcos which have actually been constructed within the right of way. That when this thing balloons the cost of the project, it shortens the length. So if we're going to do, let's say, 100 kilometers of road with about $100 million, and now you're taking about $15 million of that money to do relocation, it means you are shortening. If you don't have any buffer, as you don't have any other monies to fall on, that means you are shortening the distance of about 100 kilometers by 15 kilometers. Means you are doing 85 kilometers. In the event where you have the money to go and fall on, it means you have increased the cost of the project by under $15 million. And so we need to, it's just about communication, coordination, and available of information to every construction on our roads.
Engineer Mahama, now, but just back to that question on what kind of design we should be going out for because of how the communities have, changed over the years. Should we be looking at creating proper bus stops for these commercial vehicles, what we locally call trotro? Because, I foresee the attitude will not change much, obviously, because people live around or along the motorway now, and they will need to get down at some point and hop onto another vehicle at another point. So in order to avoid this altogether and make the roads more safe, is it advisable if you look at creating stops along the road?
Yes, the designs that I've seen, that's why they had two main components. Because there's a built-up area along the motorway now. There is this express lanes, like somebody who is from Tetekwashi moving straight to like Afinia or Mishekam and beyond, who has nothing to do with anything along the road, would go on the express road. And so in the wisdom of the engineers who have actually now redesigned the motorway, I've seen that there are other lanes which are termed as service lanes, so that anybody who is getting down along or actually entering the vehicle to move along the motorway to their communities can join without necessarily interfering with those who are actually having express movement. So the design that has been done now had factored the communities which are built up along those. Just like, let's take a typical example like Achimota to Ofanko. So when you are at Achimota New Plan and you are moving towards Ofanko, and you have no business at Taifa, Tantra, or Moose Junction, or Mile 7, you are in the express lane. Those who are actually getting down along the road are now in the service lane. So that's the same concept that is going to be used for the construction of the motorway. The only question is that when are we starting? Because the design has actually captured everything, all the challenges that we see along the motorway stretch now. But the construction is what we are waiting for to see when it's going to be started and when it's going to be completed.
And that's a big question that was posed to the minister when he appeared before the Public Accounts Committee. And he said we were going to start soon. He wasn't able to give any specific dates on that one. So Engineer Mahama, while we wait for the big construction to start, what should we be doing? There are people who are falling into potholes on the road, somersaulting vehicles, causing loss of lives. There are issues with no functioning street lights, again, heightening concerns about insecurity. So what should we be doing while we wait for that big construction to begin?
Well, we just have to, this unit under the Ghana Highway Authority, which is known as the Mobile Maintenance Unit, they are in charge of maintaining all the roads to ensure that they are actually within some the riding qualities are maintained. So government just have to put in some money, make some funds available to that department or that division under the Ghana Highway Authority to continuously be monitoring the motorway and keep on with the patching. There are chemicals that can be used to actually treat the whole motorway and then put an overlay. We've had this discussion over time with some of my colleagues that if government feel like they're not going to have money in the next 2 years, then it's better that they actually get that amount of money, engage those experts who brought in these chemicals that can be used to at least seal all the depressed areas on the road, and then at least put one layer asphalt overlay across the stretch of the road so that at the time that government will get the money, they can now do the diversions and do the proper construction. Otherwise, these are the challenges we're going to have day in and out on the road. And then the issues with the lightning. We are having almost all street lights now being solar powered. If you get to the Wager barrier, the toll booth on the Wager barrier, when you do the diversion on the Kaswa bypass, all those lights, street lights there are solar powered lights. In the interim, if we actually value the lives of the people, especially in the evening, those poles can be used and reused. There are no cables connected that become exposed to those who are actually stealing, coming in the night to actually remove the coppers and go and sell. But those ones can be used for now, so that when we are even done, or when we start the construction, we will remove them one after the other and reinstall them at some areas and maybe bring in new ones, particularly for the motorway. It can be done. It can be done.
Now, just wrapping up this conversation, the AM show, and we are discussing the Tema Motorway, concerns about its safety as potholes continue to develop amidst the issue of non-functioning street lights. Engineer Mahama, it will be wrapping up shortly, but just some more details given by the minister when he appeared before the Public Accounts Committee. So he mentioned that the reconstruction is not limited to the motorway. It goes up to the Accra-Tema overhead and ends at the new planned traffic light on the Accra-Tema and Sawam Highway. He says it's a major work, and the motorway itself is going to have 4 interchanges at various sections. Some of the lanes will go up to 10, 5 on either side. The reconstruction, and I'm quoting him here, the reconstruction will also include the remodeling of the Tetekwashi interchange to deal with the current traffic situation being experienced there. There will be another interchange at Jowulu Junction, and at the Accra-Tema interchange will also be remodeled. As part of the project, toll plazas and 40 new pedestrian footbridges are to be constructed to ensure safe crossing of pedestrians. So these interchanges we are doing, some on the motorway, some on the roads that connect to it, and they too many. It appears that interchanges have become a way for us to deal with traffic situation here in Accra.
Well, I had a chance to see some of those documents, and it was very laudable. Let's take one after the other. Now let's look at the Accra-Tema new plan. I think 3 years ago, when the construction of the Pukwas interchange was about completion, I said we're going to have a bottleneck of traffic at the new plan. Why? Because at the time that Amasama was actually distributing the traffic flow to Accra in piecemeal, bits and pieces, new plan was able to absorb, because the vehicles that were coming to the new plan junction, which is a signalized intersection as a traffic light, was receiving the traffic gradually. Okay. Now the motorway at the Pukwas interchange, which is a 4th year, had been completed. What it means is that it frees traffic almost immediately, and the next junction, which is supposed to receive the traffic, is not ready to receive the traffic. So when I heard that the motorway has some of these components to actually construct an interchange at the new plant junction where we used to have this Malcolm disaster building, that area would be a relief to the central corridor road, i.e. from the new plant through Ofanko, through Amasaman to Sawam and beyond. And those who are actually moving towards Taifa, Mile 7 and go. So that one must be done. And then the Tetekwasi interchange, almost every day around the peak hours in the morning, around 11 o'clock in the morning to like 2 o'clock lunchtime in the evening, we are confronted with the same volume of traffic and more. Now, your question about interchanges, the only solution we have to actually reduce traffic at junctions is interchange, and that is a well-engineered thought tool. The higher or the more the tier, the less the traffic. So let's talk of Tetekwasi interchange, for instance. It's only one tier. Now, if Tetekwasi should have one other tier, it means you have reduced the volume of traffic by a certain margin. So like I said, South Africa and Ghana are the only countries in Africa with a 4-tier design like the Pukwase one. So you can see that when you get to Pukwase, there's nothing like traffic at the corridors of the Pukwase interchange. Now, if you had only one tier, would have had some traffic to deal with at the Pukwase interchange. So the traffic would only be resolved when we have interchanges at all cross junctions and T junctions. When you have a T junction, if the volume of traffic within that area is less, that's where you start to use the signalized intersection, i.e. the traffic light. But when the volume of traffic increases with time, and you check your traffic impact report, assessment report, and you see that the numbers you are getting warrants a 2-tier, you go for a 2-tier. But if you have money, you can go for a 3-tier, so that in the next 50 years, you are not concerned about whatever is happening in that area because you have made adequate provision for the tier. So traffic junctions or cross junctions can only be eliminated in terms of volume of traffic by the interchanges you have, and that is laudable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't continue to have the traffic light. You can't continue to have the runabout. The runabout would look at what happened. The motorway runabout. What has it been turned to now? We have a phase 1 of the interchange. Means that you have reduced the traffic drastically because you have about 4 outlets connected to the runabout. So it takes a long time to create traffic backwards. But now, when I'm on the ground floor going to a flower, whatever it is, I have no business normally going to Tema industrial area or going to Ashaiman or going to Michelle Camp. I move in my flight and I'm gone. So once you have those, it's like you're having your storage building, similar to what happens on the road. So let's go by that. And that's the only best way we can do our road constructions in the country. And we'll have less time, traveling time on our roads. And invariably help the health of Ghanaians who are actually sitting in traffic for 3 or 4 hours because of junctions, T junctions, and cross junctions.
So while we wait for the construction to begin, unfortunately, there are people who are losing their lives, who are paying the price for the delay in this construction. And we are told that the contractors are actually in the country and they've been here for about 2 years waiting for this to begin. And we don't know what exactly is causing the delay. The roads minister wasn't specific, but he just said that those issues have been dealt with and so construction will commence soon. We hope it does, but we will keep our eyes on the Tema Motorway. Let me now bring in Reverend Cyril Krab, President of the Accident Victim Support Foundation, to find out from him what exactly is being done for persons who suffer as a result of the delay to construct some of these roads, and the kind of stories he can share with us from the Accra-Tema Motorway, to be specific. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us here. Hello, Rev. Hello, Rev. Do we have Rev on the line? Well, it appears we have a challenge with Rev's line. So, wrapping up with you now, Engineer Mahama.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Rev.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please, did you get my question?
Yes, I did. And good morning to you and your cherished viewers and listeners. I have been listening to Mr. Mahama. I hope I get the name right.
Yes, Engineer Mahama.
I think he's made a very excellent submission it looks nice it sounds good to the ear, but when you come to the ground, it's not as it is. And I thank you for that excellent question. You also asked very brilliant question that what are we waiting for since the contractors are in town and have been in town for 2 years. It now begins to make one to worry that what exactly is the challenge, and if we have a challenge, what are we doing about it? What also it goes against, to the challenge that it gives to the regular user of the road that uses the road for ends meet, and to take care of the family, and to have some kind of, leverage when it comes to economic activities. It is not there. If you ask us from the accident victims support perspective, these discrepancies that we have, these roads that are not being done, and these roads that have a lot of potholes, it is causing a lot of accidents. We have 15,000 people as at last year, being injured as a result of one bad road or another. Just a common standardized road for people to use so that they can go about their duties. It has become a problem. I used the motorway 3 days today, and it was very challenging. At a point, I have to be very careful the way I was driving. The roads are very, very bad and very deplorable. The way drivers too are driving very impatient. It's very amazing. I just hope that something is done, and it's done immediately, so that we who uses the road will have our lives, intact and will arrive alive. Because where we are right now, I mean, I don't know what to say. Talk is cheap, but we must get the work done, if you ask me. And so we'll plead with the kind of victims we are seeing, the story they are telling us. Accra tops the accident last year. A lot of accidents are happening in the country. The 15,000 that got injured, most of them they got injured in Accra. And sometimes you don't know. Bloomberg has come up with a report that says that Accra has so many dangerous roads, and the motorway, the Tema Motorway, is one of them. Many people have lost their lives. Many people, their lives have been maimed. They have been rejected, invalid. And I think that it's about time that, for the sake of humanity, we need to construct the road without delay.
And I think that sums it all. For the sake of humanity, we're yet to find out from the minister the specifics as to why, even though contractors are said to be in town for about 2 years now, the construction is yet to begin while people perish on that stretch of road. We will be keeping our eyes on this issue and furnish you with details as and when they are made available. But we won't stop reporting about the issue on the Accra-Tema Motorway, also because it matters to you, for those of you who ply that route every morning. It is an issue of major concern. And let me say thank you to Reverend Cyril Crabb and Engineer Mahama for joining me to have this conversation. Much later on the show, you would have the opportunity to share your thoughts with us, and you can call us when the phone lines are open and let us know what your concerns are. Well.